Hi guys, welcome to another video. Well, I say another video, but I used to have a YouTube account. I did 8 videos, my phone broke, so I've got a new phone, new account, and so this is technically my first and 9th video, but today, well, I'm going to be doing a series. So I've picked out a book, my favourite book, which is Grandpa's Great Escape by David Walliams. I absolutely love this book. It's amazing, and I'm reading this just in case you can't read yet and your parents are busy or you've got disabilities. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. And before we get started, a quick shout out to At Home of the Kilt Mose. He shouted me out in his last video. Yeah, his last video. So you go and check him out and subscribe. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to be reading a chapter every day. So here are some more of David Walliams' books: The Boy in the Dress, Mr. Stink, Billionaire Boy, Gangster Granny, Rat Burger, Demon Dentist, Awful Auntie. Also available in a picture book, The Slightly Annoying Elephant. That's a great book. The First Hippo on the Moon, and The Queen's Orangutan. So I'm not going to be showing the pictures just to tell you that, because I just think like being imaginative, letting it flow in your mind, have your own pictures. So I didn't actually read this at first. I've got the book now, but first of all, I listened to it on a CD. So let's get started. This is a tale of a boy called Jack and his grandfather. Once upon a time, Grandpa was a Royal Air Force pilot. During World War II, he flew a Spitfire fighter plane. Our story is set in 1983. This was a time before the internet and mobile phones and computer games that could be played for weeks on end. In 1983, Grandpa was already an old man, but his grandson Jack was just 12 years old. Goodness, he's older than me. I'll show you the people. This is Jack's mum and dad. Mum Barbara works at the cheese counter in the local supermarket. Dad Barry is an accountant. Raj, in basically every David Walliams book, is the local newsagent. Miss Verity is the history teacher at Jack's school. Move this stuff over there. This is the town's vicar, revered hog, and you know what? This is taking too long. Let's just start the book. Goodness me. Oh, God, there's a lot of people. Twilight Towers, yeah, cool. Map. Prologue. Do you want me to read the prologue? It's short, and then I suppose I can read the chapter. Prologue and chapter. Then the rest is just going to be one chapter each video. One day, Grandpa began to forget things. It was little things at first. The old man would make himself a cup of tea and forget to drink it. Before long, he would have lined up a dozen cups of cold tea on his kitchen table. Or he would run a bath and forget to turn off the taps, flooding his neighbour's flat downstairs. Or he would leave the house with the express purpose of buying a stamp, but return home with 17 boxes of cornflakes. Grandpa didn't even like cornflakes. Over time, Grandpa started to forget bigger things. what year it was, whether his long-diseased wife, Peggy, was alive or not. One day, he even stopped recognising his own son. Most startling of all was that Grandpa completely forgot he was an old-age pensioner. Don't know how to say that word. The old man had always told his little grandson Jack stories of his adventures in the Royal Air Force all those years ago in World War II. Now these stories became more and more real to him. In fact, instead of just telling these stories, he began living them out. The present faded into scratchy black and white as the past burst into glorious colour. It didn't matter where Grandpa was or what he was doing or whom he was with. In his mind, he was a dashing young pilot behind the controls of his Spitfire fighter plane. All the people in Grandpa's life found this very difficult to understand, except one person, his grandson Jack. Like all children, the boy loved to play, and it seemed to him that his grandpa was playing, and it seemed to him that his grandpa was playing. Jack realised all you had to do was play too. Part 1. Reach for the skies. Just reminds me of Woody. Spamalot Custard. Jack was a child who was happiest alone in his bedroom. A naturally shy boy, he didn't have many friends. Instead of spending his days playing football in the park with other kids from home, he would stay inside assembling his prized collection of model aeroplanes. His favourite were from World War II, the Lancaster bomber, the Hurricane, and of course his grandfather's old plane, the now legendary Spitfire. On the Nazi side, he had models of the Dornier bomber, the Junkers, and the Spitfire's deadly nemesis, the Messerschmitt. With great care, Jack would paint his model planes, then fix them to the ceiling with fishing wire. Suspended in the air, they looked like they were in the middle of a dramatic dogfight. At night, he would stare up at them from his bunk bed and drift off to sleep, dreaming he was in an RAF flying ace. Just like his grandfather was once, the boy kept a picture of Grandpa by his bed. He was a young man in the old black and white photograph. It was taken sometime in 1940 at the height of the Battle of Britain. Is that right? Grandpa was standing proudly in his RAF uniform. In his dreams he would be a hero. In his life he felt like a zero. The problem was that each day was exactly the same. He would go to school every morning, do his homework every afternoon, and eat his dinner in front of the television every night. If only he wasn't so shy, if only he had lots of friends, if only he could break free from his boring life. The highlight of Jack's week was Sunday. That was the day his parents would leave him with his grandfather before the old man had become too confused. He would take his grandson on the most magical days out. The Imperial War Museum was the place they loved to visit the most. It was not too far away in London and was a treasure trove of all things military. Together, the pair would marvel at the old warplanes hanging from the ceiling, of the great room. The legendary Spitfire was, of course, their absolute favourite. Seeing her always brought Grandpa's memories of the war flooding back. He would share these stories with his grandson, who devoured every word. On the long bus journey home, Jack would bombard the old man with hundreds and hundreds of questions. What's the fastest speed you ever went in your Spitfire? Did you ever have to parachute out? Which is the better fighter plane, the Spitfire or Messerschmitt? Grandpa loved answering him. Often a crowd of children would gather around the old man on the top deck of the bus home to listen to these incredible tales. It was the summer of 1940. Grandpa would begin. The height of the Battle of Britain. One night I was flying my Spitfire over the English Channel. I had become separated from my squadron. My fighter plane had taken a pounding in a dogfight. Now I was limping back to base. Then, just behind me, I heard machine guns. Rat-tat-tat. I'm going to do my own version. It was a Nazi Messerschmitt right on my tail again. It was just the two of us alone over the sea. That night would be an epic fight to the death. Grandpa enjoyed nothing. Did I skip a page? No. Grandpa enjoyed nothing more than sharing stories of his World War II adventures. Jack would listen intently. Every little detail fascinated him. Over time, the boy became something of an expert on these old fighter planes. Grandpa would tell his grandson that he would make an excellent pilot one day. This always made the boy burst with pride. Then later in the day, if ever an old black and white war film was on the television, the pair would snuggle up on the sofa together in Grandpa's house and watch it. The Reach for the Sky was one they watched over and over again. This classic told the story of a pilot who lost both his legs in a horrific accident before World War II. Despite this, Douglas Bader went on to become a legendary flying ace. Rainy Saturday afternoons were made for Reach for the Sky, or One of Our Aircraft is Missing, or The Way to the Stars, or A Matter of Life and Death. For Jack, there was nothing better. Sadly, the food at Grandpa's home was always diabolical. He called it rations. As he had during the war, the old man only ever ate food from tins. For dinner, he would select a couple of complete random from his larder and empty them into a pan together. Corned beef with pineapple chunks, sardines and rice pudding, treacle sponge with peas, baked beans mixed with tinned peaches, oh please don't throw up on your phone or anything like that, diced carrots in condensed milk, chocolate pudding covered in tomato soup, oh my god, that's the worst, pilchards with spaghetti hoops, oh I shouldn't have spoken so soon, steak and kidney pudding and fruit cocktail, haggis topped with cherries and syrup, and Grandpa's speciality, Spamalot custard. The use of the French words gave it an air of poshness it did not deserve. Fortunately, the boy didn't come for the food. World War II was the most important time in Grandpa's life. It was a time when brave Royal Air Force pilots like him fought for their country in the Battle of Britain. The Nazis were planning an invasion, a plot they are. My goodness, who's hoovering? I'll try and speak up, but just don't worry about that. I don't want to restart this whole entire video. So the Nazis were planning an invasion, a plot they called Operation Sea Lion. However, without being able to secure power over the skies to protect their troops on the ground, the Nazis were never able to put their plan into action. Day after day, night after night, RAF pilots like Grandpa risked their lives to keep the people of Britain free from being captured by the Nazis. So instead of reading a book, his grandson at bedtime, the old man would tell the boy of his real life adventures during the war. His stories were more thrilling than any of you could find in a book. One more tale, Grandpa, please, the boy begged on one such night. I want to hear about when you were shot down by the Luftwaffe and had to crash land into the English Channel. It's late, young Jack replied. Grandpa replied. You go to sleep. I promise I'll tell you that tale and plenty more in the morning. But I'll meet you in your dream, Squadron Leader, said the old man as he kissed Jack tenderly on the forehead. Squadron Leader was his nickname for his grandson. I'll see you in the skies. Up, up and away. Up, up and away, the boy repeated before drifting off to sleep in Grandpa's spare room, dreaming he was too a fighter pilot. Time spent with Grandpa couldn't have been more perfect, but that was all about to change. Chapter 2, Slippers. Wow, that was pretty short, I would say. Well, this video's going over 18 minutes long in 30 seconds, but yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. I will be doing the next chapter in another video, yeah, please stay home, wash your hands, stay safe. We all know this horrible thing's going around, but we've all just got to try together, protect the NHS, and good night. That's if you're listening to this in bed. Bye.